tell us all about Agartha, because it seems to be the biggest kept secret on Earth.
Beneath your feet lies a hidden network spanning the globe, older than any known civilization. It's called Agartha, an underground world of cities and tunnels that governments have kept secret for decades. I've spoken to military officers, explorers, and archaeologists who've seen these tunnels and the beings that live there. Non-human entities that have been watching us for centuries. Here's the thing. The governments of the world know. They know about Agartha. They've been keeping it hidden for decades, maybe even longer. And I've spoken to people, high-ranking officials, former military officers, explorers who have gone missing and come back, who swear that what's down there, what they've seen, would destroy everything we think we know about human history, about civilization, and about what's really controlling the world. You think you're safe on the surface, don't you? Walking through your daily life, never questioning what lies just beneath the ground you're standing on. But that's the illusion. The real power isn't up here, it's down there. The Agartha Network stretches beneath every continent, connecting vast hidden cities that are older than any civilization we've uncovered on the surface. And the beings who live there, they've been watching us for centuries. Let me tell you how I first stumbled onto this. It started as a side project. I was working on a piece about unexplained disappearances in remote areas, people going missing in national parks, mountains, deserts, places where no trace of them was ever found. It was one of those topics that had always intrigued me. But the more I dug, the more I started to notice a pattern. Every once in a while, buried in official reports or testimonies, there'd be a reference to something under the ground. Strange tunnels that rescue teams would come across, but were never mentioned in the official documents. Some of the rescue teams would get close, and then nothing. It was like they vanished too. I started asking questions. I reached out to a couple of contacts I had, people in the government, the military, folks who had worked in classified areas, and that's when I started hearing the name Agartha. At first, it was just whispers, little bits of information that didn't make sense. But then I found someone, an old army colonel who had been involved in exploratory missions in Antarctica back in the 1950s. This was back when the US and other governments were sending teams out to the most remote, inhospitable places on Earth, officially looking for new resources. But unofficially, they were looking for something else. This colonel told me about a mission he was part of, deep in the Arctic. His team was searching for an unexplored cave system that had been spotted from the air. They were supposed to map it out, see if it connected to any larger underground networks. They found the cave, all right, but what they found inside, it wasn't natural. The walls were smooth, almost like they'd been carved by human hands. But the deeper they went, the stranger it got. The air started to feel thick, heavy, like it was pressing in on them. And the further in they went, the more they felt like they weren't alone. One by one, members of the team started experiencing intense fear, panic attacks, some of them even screaming that something was watching them. But here's the kicker. None of them had lights or radios that worked past a certain point, like something was interfering with their equipment. Eventually, they turned back. They never reached the end of the tunnel. But on the way out, the colonel saw something that he could never explain. At least, not in a way that made any sense. As they were leaving, he caught a glimpse of a figure, tall, thin, almost like a shadow, standing at the far end of the tunnel, watching them. After that, the mission was scrapped. The cave was sealed off. Officially, it never happened. But the colonel told me that was the moment he realized something much bigger was being hidden from the public. And it wasn't just in the Arctic. Over the next few years, I started piecing things together. I found old maps, ancient texts, references to Agartha in religious manuscripts, myths, legends. Every culture, from the Buddhists to the ancient Egyptians to the Native Americans, they all spoke of a hidden world beneath the earth. In some stories, it was a paradise. In others, it was a prison. But the common thread, was always the same. There was something down there, and it wasn't human. One of the most chilling stories came from a man I met in South America. He was an archaeologist, but he had given up his career after a series of events during an excavation in the Andes. His team had been exploring an ancient tunnel system that local tribes had long considered sacred, forbidden territory. They were looking for artifacts, signs of pre-Columbian civilizations. What they found instead was something that didn't fit into any historical narrative. As they went deeper, they started noticing strange carvings on the walls, symbols that no one could recognize, not even the local guides. The further in they went, the more elaborate the carvings became, depicting tall humanoid figures surrounded by strange geometric shapes. At first, the team thought they had stumbled onto some forgotten religious site, but then they heard something. It started as a low hum, almost like the sound of machinery, but it was deeper, more organic. It echoed through the tunnels, getting louder the deeper they went. Eventually, they came to a massive chamber, and that's when they saw it. A vast opening in the ground, leading straight down into darkness. And standing at the edge of that pit were figures, not statues, not carvings. Figures. They were tall, impossibly tall, and draped in what looked like dark robes or shadows. He couldn't tell, but what he remembered most vividly were their eyes. Not like human eyes, but glowing pale lights that pierced through the darkness. And in that moment, he said he felt something inside his mind. Like they were communicating not with words, but with thoughts, and the message was clear. Leave, now. His team did. They ran, and when they got back to the surface, the entrance to the tunnel had collapsed behind them. He believes the collapse wasn't natural. It was intentional. Something didn't want them to return. He never went back, and the site has since been closed off to the public under the guise of an environmental hazard. Here's the part that should scare you the most. It's not just a passive network, it's active. There are people on the surface, governments, elites, secret societies who know about Agartha and are in contact with whatever's down there. They've been trading technology, knowledge, even power in exchange for keeping Agartha's existence hidden. The tunnels are sealed, the entrances are disguised or destroyed, and anyone who gets too close either vanishes or is bought off. But here's what no one wants to admit. Agartha isn't just hiding, it's waiting. And if you listen closely enough, if you pay attention to the strange disappearances, the unexplained phenomena, the whispers of people seeing strange things underground, you'll start to realize something. The world below is starting to wake up. And when it does, I don't think there's anything we can do to stop it.